Shalom, beloved. Hello, hello. Shalom. Hola. Namaste. Bonjour. uh, yeah. Hi. What's on and then salam. Shalom aleichem. Salam alaikum. For my Arabic speaking friends. Um, okay, that's good. Air conditioning turned off. It's actually amazing, beautiful weather today. It was very hot a couple weeks ago, but today is just right. And of course, just right for me. I realize some people it's too hot. I always, no matter how hot it is, I always turn the air conditioning off at night for a couple of reasons. One, um, I just, I mean, it, well, I mean, it's like the sun goes down. It's still warm, but the sun goes down, so I just don't feel the need for the air conditioning. But and other reasons too. It's just, it's good, you know. Now I get it. Now when the predators come for my animals, I gotta get my gun ready to shoot. And yeah, I'm serious about that. I do need to do some more practice, but yes. Anyway, so if you were, yeah, the live stream. I was gonna say that. I don't know if I said that already or not, but if you were there for the live stream Sunday, thank you so much. What a blessing! What an honor to have so many of you watching and listening. And if you missed it, I'm happy to say it was recorded. I know one of you wanted to have it on DVD, and I hopefully here pretty soon I'll get to ask about that for you. At this time, I don't think there is the worship concert was not put on a DVD, but you can, if you missed it, beloved, you can see it. It was recorded, and I will leave a link below so you can watch it, or if you want to see it again. It was truly amazing, a wonderful, wonderful time. Excuse me. Don't worry, I don't have the Rona. I've just been messing with a lot of dusty stuff. Yeah, so it was truly amazing though. Sunday, God was amazing. That was what was amazing. There are some things I want to share about that. Yeah, I mean it's pretty obvious, as someone there was saying. I am very soft spoken, so when I speak, I noticed in the recording, you know, I am speaking softly, so I don't know, some people might have had a hard time hearing, but I sing loud, you know, that's just the thing. I find it very uncomfortable to my throat when I try to talk loud. I mean, I guess I use my voice differently, of course, when I'm singing, so for whatever reason, it's just, it's good I speak quietly, and I sing very loud. So I hope you could still hear, though, what I was sharing, and Julie did an amazing job with sitting behind me during the concert. We had some technical difficulties, but she was a trooper, so lots of thanks to her for that. And everyone there at Zion's Roar Ministries. It was truly a wonderful time. I did want to share with you guys that something that happened that's truly, I keep saying this because it is truly amazing. There are times when I'm singing and playing the harp, and I know this is going to sound really weird to the world, but I don't care. Being people of God, no matter what, we seem weird to the world anyways, but there have been times where I'm singing and playing the harp, and God does speak through me. And I'm so humbled by that, because I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy to be that instrument, but for whatever reason, He's chosen to do that. And in my quiet times, I've had that, and publicly I have had that. But that God had not spoken that way through me like He did on Sunday. I'm trying to do this without crying. I don't think that's gonna work, but He had not done that like that with me since before my mother passed away. So on Sunday, and I know for some people, it might not have been, if you know, unless you were really tuned in, you might have missed it, but there was a time during the worship service in which the words coming out were just, you know, they were not, it was, God was using me, but it was His words, and I believe, and I like I said, I've had that happen before, but it hadn't been since before my mom passed away. So, and that was like more than 2 years ago in New Mexico. So my spiritual family in New Mexico knows about that, and they are aware of the fact that God has spoken through me, and so it was truly something truly amazing happened Sunday. It was just wonderful, and it wasn't that there wasn't a whole lot to be said, and sometimes God doesn't say that much. I mean, he doesn't really need to. It's a pretty straight to the point the way he speaks to his people, and so it was amazing. It was really amazing. God was amazing, and it was such a wonderful, great group of people. My favorite moment was actually when I was singing "Holy, Holy," and everybody, and I don't think it picked up on the live stream, but everybody started singing "Holy, Holy," and it was like angels were among us, and it was just so beautiful to hear the worship. And then we had "Holy, Holy" in Hebrew and Spanish. There were some Spanish speakers there, and it was just, yeah, God's presence was amazing. Yeah, so as far as speaking through me and using me, it was truly amazing. I know that I would interpret that as, like, in the Bible, actually, it talks about prophesying on the harp. And I did not even know about that. The first time, the second time, maybe even the third time that God spoke through me, I didn't even know about that in the Bible. I knew about the harp in the Bible, but I did not know about prophesying on the harp. And I don't want to, I'm very careful when I use that word, prophecy or prophesying, because sadly there is so much misinterpretation of what that really is. I don't agree with the terminologies used when people say, they'll say speaking, dancing, or doing art in the prophetic, because I don't hear that in the Bible. Yes, there's prophecy in the Bible of what God is going to do, what's the word said to his people, prophecy about what the Messiah was to be like in the Tanakh, so that we would know what he would be like when he came. But the sort of talk that I hear about, I guess it would be considered charismatic. A lot of times if it's not biblical, if it's not in the Bible, God himself in the Word, we're supposed to disregard that, and we're supposed to test everything as well. So I do believe God gives us words just like in ancient times today, but it's also so important that when we share that we are, something that we say is from the Lord, that it is in fact from the Lord, because it is very serious, the consequences. And I realize too when I'm sharing the consequences if it is not of the Lord, and I also pray fervently that only his words would be spoken, and he would forgive me if anything is out of line, and continue to instruct me lovingly, because I want to be on his team, on his side all the time, not on my own. I am human, which brings me to what I wanted to share with you guys. And we'll hopefully end the trivia that I've got with my age coming up here at the end. But this story, I'm pretty sure I've shared a study on this before, but I opened my Bible randomly again to this story, so I felt like it was important to share it. I won't share the whole story, but just a part of it. The end is actually really sad. We won't get to the sad part. You can read that on your own, unless you're familiar with the story already. But this is from Judges, or Shoftim, chapter 10. We'll start at the end of chapter 10 in verse 15. And I might be getting too close to the computer there. So chapter 10, verse 15. And the children of Israel said to the Lord, "We have sinned. Do to us whatever seems best to you. Only deliver us this day, we pray." So they put away the foreign gods from among them and served the Lord, served Adonai. And his soul could no longer endure the misery of Israel. Then the people of Ammon gathered together and encamped in Gilead, and the children of Israel assembled together and encamped in Mizpah. And the people, the leaders of Gilead, said to one another, "Who is the man who will begin to fight against the people of Ammon? He shall be head over all the inhabitants of Gilead." So they needed a leader, right? Now, okay, so in Hebrew, his name is totally different than the English translation, but because in Hebrew it says that his name was Yiftach. And in English it says Jephthah. It's got sort of a similar sound, I guess. But so in English, I'm reading it in English. Now Jephthah the Gileadite was a mighty man of valor, but he was the son of a harlot. And Gilead begot Jephthah. Gilead's wife bore sons, and when his wife's sons grew up, they drove Jephthah out, and said to him, You shall have no inheritance. You shall have no inheritance in our father's house, for you are the son of another woman. Makes me wonder what they were doing all that time while they were growing up. I mean, was these feelings just stirring or what? I'm curious about what their life was like. But then Jephthah fled from his brothers and dwelt in the land of Tob. And worthless men banded together with Jephthah and went out raiding with him. Not exactly something you're going to be proud of, right? But here's the interesting thing, okay? This gets really interesting. It came to pass after a time that the people of Ammon made war against Israel, and so it was when the people of Ammon made war against Israel that the elders of Gilead went to get Jephthah from the land of Tob. Then they said to Jephthah, Come and be our commander, that we may fight against the people of Ammon. What are the odds, right? The outcast has become the commander, or is about to be, right? But that is what God does. He takes the outcasts, he takes the ones that people have, so to speak, put under the rug, and brings them up. I don't know about you, beloved, but there have been times in my life where, the worst of the worst has been assumed of me, and God has, brought me up and lifted me up, and it's been amazing. Or even just people mistreating. They see someone who is humble, and it's like they feel like they have a right to, just quote unquote put them in their place, and it's God's glory is rising up the humble, and so yeah, this is amazing. Okay, so and I am certainly not perfect, but you know what I'm saying. I'm just saying that yeah, it is so wrong to assume anything, really, in life. It's really hurtful, and I realize that some families, there's a culture within each family, and I realize that you grow up with something, you just don't know anything different, but it does affect you. Like if let's say you're in a family where people, just as a normal way of speaking, they just assume that you don't know about the things that they know about, and so you sort of develop a complex, because even if you know, or even if you are really smart and everything, you just kind of assume that you start to believe that you're not. And that's like a huge, deep topic. I wasn't going to get into that, but I started to. So let's get back to this interesting stuff to talk about. So, yeah, so they asked him to be the commander. So Jephthah said to the elders of Gilead, Did you not hate me and expel me from my father's house? Wow. Why have you come to me now when you are in distress? Sometimes we come to God like that, and it's not good. And the elders of Gilead said to Jephthah, That is why we have turned again to you now, that you may go with us and fight against the people of Ammon, and be our head over all the inhabitants of Gilead. So Jephthah said to the elders of Gilead, If you take me back to fight against the people of Ammon, and the Lord delivers them to me, shall I be your head? And the elders of Gilead said to Jephthah, The Lord will be a witness between us if we do not do according to your words. Then Jephthah went with the elders of Gilead, and the people made him head and commander over them, and Jephthah spoke all his words before the Lord in Mizpah. So this is the next part that is absolutely amazing to me. people can assume when they see someone go off and maybe not even come to a congregation for a long time, or they're not at the congregation regularly, you can assume that that person's life is starting to just drift away. But it's not so much about the building or the place. It is what's happening in your heart. You can be in the middle of a desert with nobody around, and your heart can be on fire for the Lord. And Jephthah, people could assume, if they wanted to, where it's for assuming is very hurtful, right? They could assume that Jephthah had, strayed from the Lord, that he was not a man of God, especially with, how he came to be in existence and what he'd been doing for lately. But here's amazing. I am so impressed with the things that Jephthah says here in a little bit. So, now Jephthah sent messengers to the king of the people of Ammon, saying, "What do you have against me that you have come to fight against me in my land?" And the king of the people of Ammon answered the messengers of Jephthah, "Because Israel took away my land when they came up out of Egypt from Arnon as far as the Jabbok and the Jordan. Now therefore restore those lands peaceably." Beloved, nothing has changed, because today we're still having the same fight, right? It's still about the land of Israel. Interesting thing, though, was that there was always, throughout the Bible, throughout history, the land of Israel was always either taken by, there was a fight and such, and there was, in fact, war that had taken place before, right? God delivers the enemies of Israel to Israel, and so I think it's hilarious and it's sad. It's not really funny, but I guess there's a part of it that's funny, because man plans and God laughs. That there are a lot of people who believe in the lie today that the people in Israel are just occupying Palestine, and for one thing, it was meant to be a mockery when the land of Israel was taken to rename it Palestine. It had always been Israel, though, but it never was. Yeah, it's always been Israel. Of course, before that, the Canaanites were there in the land, but God had always delivered the enemies of Israel to Israel. And it's nothing short of a miracle what took place in 1948, because you can't just make this stuff up. You can't just make it happen. And so the lie saying that the Israelis are just occupying the land, it's tragically, just loosely puzzled together. And there's no evidence to put that together that Israel has taken, that they're occupying another land. This is in fact the land of God, of course. And we humans on this entire world are just here because he put us here. So it's another funny thing to me that we fight over land. It's, we all live and die the same. But anyways, we know it's a spiritual battle, right? So that's why it continues in Israel. So they're saying this. So Jephthah again sent messengers to the king of the people of Ammon and said to him, "Thus says Jephthah, Israel did not take away the land." See, this guy sounds like he's from modern day Israel, trying to say Israel didn't take the land, because it's still this fight, right? It still continues. The truth still continues. Israel did not take away the land of Moab, nor the land of the people of Ammon. For when Israel came up from Egypt, they walked through the wilderness as far as the Red Sea and came to Kadesh. Then Israel sent messengers to the king of Edom, saying, "Please let me pass through your land." But the king of Edom would not heed. And in like manner they sent to the king of Moab, but he would not consent. So Israel remained in Kadesh. And they went along through the wilderness and bypassed the land of Edom and the land of Moab, came to the east side of the land of Moab, and encamped on the other side of the Arnon. But they did not enter the border of Moab, for the Arnon was the border of Moab. Then Israel sent messengers to Sihon, king. This is getting very interesting here. The king of the Amorites, king of Heshbon. And Israel said to him, "Please let us pass through your land into our place." But Sihon did not trust Israel to pass through his territory. So Sihon gathered all his people together camped in Jahaz, and fought against Israel. And the Lord God of Israel delivered Sihon and all his people into the hand of Israel, and they defeated them. Thus Israel gained possession of the land of the Amorites who inhabited the country. They took possession of all the territory of the Amorites, from the Arnon to Jabbok, and from the wilderness to the Jordan. Okay, since I know this video is already long, the whole thing is amazing, but I'm going to go down a little bit. So we know about all this great victory. And of course, the Lord God of Israel has just possessed the Amorites from before his people Israel. Should you then possess it? Talks a little bit more about that and what happened exactly in the fighting. I want to read all of this, but let's go to verse 29. Then the Spirit of the Lord came upon Jephthah. This is what is amazing to me. It doesn't matter that of Jephthah's background, right? It doesn't matter for us either. When God calls you, when God puts the Spirit upon you, that's it. And so here happens. The Spirit of the Lord came upon Jephthah. This is verse 29. And he passed through Gilead and Manasseh, and passed through Mizpah of Gilead, and from Mizpah of Gilead he advanced toward the people of Ammon. And Jephthah made a vow to the Lord and said, and now that gets to the sad part. So, I feel like I missed what I wanted to read to you guys, but when you have a chance, go ahead and read the rest, 23 verses to 28. That was the part I just skipped over because I was trying to get to how the Lord's Spirit came upon Jephthah. My point being, yes, that God uses us no matter what your background is, no matter where you came from, no matter what you've done, which is amazing to me. That is what God specializes in doing, what Abba loves to do for his people. And so I hope that encourages you, that if you are struggling with your past or even how you came into existence, God has amazing plans for you. And it doesn't matter your age either. God has used people in all different stages of life for his glory, from a child to people who are quite elderly, right? I mean, we read about this in the Word. It's just amazing. God uses anybody, every age, even different issues with their life, right? So even health and things like that, don't let that discourage you from being used mightily for God's kingdom. Speaking of age, drum roll, my birthday is almost here, almost, and so many of you guessed correctly for how old I'm going to be turning. And this is a historical moment, what I'm about to share on YouTube, because I have never shared my age on here. People have asked me countless times. And I don't know, when people ask me how old I am, I feel like it's asking a question that doesn't really, I don't like to answer, not because I'm, I don't know, it's like to me it's not really important, but maybe for this age I will. God is not about time. He's like, he has all time in his hands. So for me, it's like the age, it's not so important, but I am excited about this age. I am turning very shortly 30. Yes, 30 years old. And I am so excited about that because I am one of those, yes, I should let you soak that in, 30 years old. Yeah, I'm very excited about it, yes. It's very special because according to the Bible, from what we understand, that Yeshua started his ministry at this age. And already amazing things are happening, and I haven't quite turned 30 yet. I've already been gifted some special gifts, and so I'm excited. It's a very special age. Plus, I'm one of those weird people that didn't want to I don't like to have an uneven number for my age. One of those quirks, right? So I've been 29, and it's like, no, it's not an even number. It's one of those sort of odd numbers. So I'm so excited about turning 30, and that is how old I'm going to be quite shortly. No need for me to tell you exactly what day my birthday is, but it's okay to tell you how old I am. Definitely the first time I've ever said, and I've been on YouTube for more than 10 years now, so yeah, took forever for me. I didn't even share my name, I just had my username, but there was a lot of reasons for that, so I feel like it's good to share, and quite a few of you guessed exactly 30, so, or 30, between 30 and 33. So yes, I am turning 30. If you're wondering what the secret to my youth is, I don't know. I just have always loved God. Since I was a little girl, I've always been passionately in love with our Creator. Always hungry to just know more about Him. It's just we can never learn enough about Him. It's like there's just, and everything about Him is absolutely amazing. It's just fantastic and beautiful. It's just as Zion Roar Ministries, the leader there was saying, I was laughing so much before the service. I was just so happy taking in God's Spirit, and as he said, which is so true, the joy of the Lord is my strength, and that's true. I mean, even in really difficult times, there's this joy that wells up within me, and it's not a credit to myself. It's definitely a credit to God's Spirit and His strength. A lot of people get joy and happiness mixed up. They're two very different things, in my opinion, anyways. Joy is like that, not that you're always smiling, but it's like that deep assurance that no matter what, God is with you and you're gonna be okay. But happiness, it's like temporary sort of joy thing, and there's not that deep assurance necessarily. It's just like an expression or a feeling. But joy, the true joy of the Lord, that is something to be treasured. And my hope and prayer is that each one of you would indeed become stronger and be strengthened in the joy of the Lord. Yes, never stop thanking God, never stop praising Him. Thank Him for everything. Yeah, thank Him for everything. Even the things that don't seem like a blessing, there is a blessing. Yeah, there really is. I had a recent experience for this where I thought, how can there be a blessing from this? And there was a blessing. So don't forget that, okay, beloved? I love you guys. I love you guys so much. And yeah, I've said it. I did it. I said how old I was. Not 18. No. I even have a few gray hairs, but I started to get gray hairs when I was 16. It kind of runs from my mom's side of the family to get gray hair young. So, but I look at it as a sign of wisdom. So hey, wisdom, may He give me more of it, and understanding, because Solomon had wisdom, but he didn't have much understanding. I mean, so otherwise, if he'd had understanding too, he probably would not have had so many wives. That's another story. Love you guys. Shabbat shalom, and take good care, okay? I hope you guys are doing well. Thank you to those of you who have supported me with prayers and financially. Thank you, thank you. I really thank you guys so much. So bless you and shalom. Love you guys. Bye-bye.